children, they grow up so quickly. Those are my grandchildren now, and they're already grown, and I just don't know what to do with myself. I had a fantastic trip. I already told you that. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about I choose faith and I focus upon the light. And I did that on this trip that I went on. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. We talk on Sundays about, we affirm our faith, and we talk about looking beyond appearances. And in the last year and a half, though, with the COVID pandemic, it has been an interesting time to sort of be an observer and see how many people that have spoken of their faith, and we say all these good things on Sundays, and then how many just absolutely abandoned that faith. Now, that's a human characteristic. I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm just saying it has certainly been an interesting experience to see how quickly we can abandon that faith. And all we talk about is fear. Fear, fear, fear. Sort of feel like Jesus when he was admonishing Peter, how many times will you deny me? That's what he was talking about. He was talking about our faith and how many times we deny it. They were just using stories to convey concepts. And that's what we teach here, is that we keep our thoughts positive. Now, does that mean we're not safe? Heck no. You think I'm going to go around somebody that's got smallpox and I haven't had the vaccine? No, thank you. Or pneumonia? No. A month or so before the COVID pandemic was known to us, Rosa's husband, the one that passed on, her husband Bernie, was in the hospital with pneumonia. And Rosa, bless her heart, said to me, Judy, don't you dare come up here to see Bernie. There's flu all over this hospital, and I don't want you to get it. Now you see how much I love her and miss her, and why? That's how much she loved me. Don't you dare come up here to see Bernie. Now, we don't know if that was flu now or COVID. Who knows what it was. But I'm not foolish. I didn't go. I sure didn't go. And if I know there's COVID all over the hospital, I'm probably not going to go either. It's not wise. We were given wisdom. We were given brains. So when the vaccine came out, I got it the first week I was offered. And the second one, I got it too. And because I am immunocompromised, I've been offered the third one, and I'm going to get it this week. So, but I claim strength and healing for this body and not frailness. So I'm smart, I think, wise. I got the vaccine. I don't want it. I didn't want the flu. I didn't want pneumonia. I didn't want smallpox. I sure didn't want polio when I was a child. So my mom had me vaccinated. At that time, you took your vaccination card with you to school. And so anyway, that's how I feel. You may feel differently. You go with that. So I chose to go on this trip, and before I went on this trip, I needed to show, you have to, within 72 hours of entry into this country, that country you're visiting, you need to have had a COVID test, a certain type, and it's really complicated because you have to get it within 72 hours of entry, but time enough that you get the results. So I'd been assured I was going to get those results within 24 hours after getting the test. So I go ahead, and I hadn't gotten it yet by email, but I'm trusting, right? Saturday morning, get on the airplane, go to Atlanta. So I'm at Atlanta and still don't have the results. So I'm saying, darn, this is getting tricky, isn't it? I don't have the results yet. So I'm talking to my husband on the cell phone, and I said, Dan, if you don't mind, would you go down where I got the test and check with them and see what they say? Well, that was a mistake now. There's a mistake because they don't do the test and they don't know much. So he calls me back in a panic a little bit later, and he says, you know what they said? They said that LabCorp is closed on the weekend and you won't get it till Monday. Okay, well, back to square one. I'm sitting at the airport in Atlanta I don't want to panic, but I'm human, okay? So I go down to the information desk there in the international terminal where I was, and this woman says, well, there's a lab over here. Leave the airport. She gives me this little piece of paper where she's written this address. She says, leave the airport and go over here to this lab, some obscure motel somewhere with an address, and they promise they can get it for you within 2 hours, then get a cab and come back. Now, this is at the counter at the international terminal. I'm given this information. So I take the address and I go over and sit down for a little bit and start thinking and processing all this and say, no, wait a minute, hold on a minute. I'm not leaving this airport. There is no way going to some obscure location to a motel somewhere. So there's supposed to be a lab. Are you kidding me? I got a little more sense than that. So I just sat and prayed and said, okay, I'm going to walk the talk right here, right now. I don't have to go to Portugal. I wanted to. Maybe Spirit doesn't want me to go. Okay? Maybe the universe has other plans for me. I thought this was going to be a great trip. I was ready. Actually, it had been paid for a while because we were supposed to take an international trip last year we didn't get to go on. So this was just something in the bank, you might say. Okay, so I'm sitting there. I choose one of the gates that's empty, and I just sit there in prayer, and I say, okay, God, I'm going to walk the talk right now. I'm just going to put this out there. I thought this was going to be a great thing for me, but you know what? I don't have to go, and if this isn't for me, then it won't work out. It just won't work out, and I'll be okay. I can always get on a plane and go back home to Gulfport. I can go right back to Gulfport. So when the gate opened for the flight, and you know how it is with those big planes, international flights, there are hundreds of people about to get on it, and there's a man sitting at a table about like that. And he has these papers, and he's checking for your COVID test. So I go and check in with him, and I said, you know, I don't have my results yet. He said, well, do you think you're going to get them in the next 30 minutes? I said, I have no idea. I was supposed to get them yesterday. So I have no idea. I don't know. He says, well, listen, we've got a lab set up 2 gates down. Roche is here, Roche Labs, for this very purpose. I want you to go down there, get your test. It's going to take you 15 minutes, and then come back. And we're going to pay for it, he said. I'm just in awe. Never expected it. What is it we say about when to humans there is no way? Humans sense there is no way, but God has a way. So I went down, got the test, got my negative results, come back, check in at the flight, sit down on the gate, take a deep breath and say, what just happened there? Was that a miracle or what? Now, I'm not advising you to do that because you may get on an airline that didn't have that in mind. But while I was in there, there were several people that were being sent down because their 72 hours was going to be up before they entered that country or whatever. There were several reasons. But when I got back to the gate, and then I said this word of thanks, and then I looked at my email on my phone, and there were the test results that I was supposed to get the day before. But guess what? You'd never expect there would be an error on it, would you? They had put the wrong date on it. They said I had the test on the 15th when I had it on the 16th, and I would have timed out anyway. So it's tricky. If you're going on please don't leave it to miracles, okay? Trust me, been there, done that. I already got that miracle, so don't do that, okay? If you're going to go, you make sure you get that test, you make sure it's the right one, and above all, be safe and stay negative no matter what, okay? Okay. Because there is that virus out there, and just like colds, just like pneumonia, you can get it. We have human bodies. So I just, there are a lot of people that have passed on that I wish they'd been a little wiser, but they weren't. And that's not for us to know, because one thing we do know on this earth too is that we're not going to pass on, and if it's not our time, right? So we just pray for the highest good and do our best. Do the best we can. So I'm sitting there saying, can it be that easy? Well, not always. But I had focused on yes instead of no. I'd been okay with whichever way it went, because sometimes we're going to be disappointed, but we're going to find out later why that didn't work out. So what I was actually praying for was the highest good. And if it's the highest good for me, that's the one thing they don't talk about when they're talking about the law of attraction and attracting things to you and the secret and all that. There's a bigger secret that we need to remember, and that is, yes, we attract things to us by our thoughts and the energy that we bring in and put out into the universe, but also our prayers need to be not just for us, but it's good for all. If it's only good for me, that's self-centered, isn't it? And it doesn't work that way. No. We need to look for the best for all. Sometimes we just become emotionally involved in a situation. We can't let it go, but we do need to remember our faith and focus. I love the story about a man who wanted to sing, and he just wanted to sing, and it just never worked out for him. This was several years ago. He needed to pay the rent. So what he did, he finally applied for a job as a bus driver. Then he became quite well known in the Chicago area because he sang on all the bus trips, and people would wait for a long time for his route because they wanted that singing bus driver. He never, ever would have guessed that that's where he was going to sing. He saw himself in some big venue, but he had this bus, and he got to sing every single day, and he had an appreciative audience. Sometimes life turns out that way, doesn't it? He had faith, and he focused, and he focused upon the light and the good, but he also knew he needed to pay the bills. Sometimes people forget that. You don't forget that, do you? Those of you that are artists, musicians, right? That's why when Sherry was in college, she and her husband both, they changed their majors. They were music majors, and they both got teaching degrees because they began to see that a sensible person needs something to fall back on, especially with it's the rare exception that can actually live off of their musical abilities, isn't it, Sherry? Actually. And Charles, you guys did good to go ahead and get a career so that you could. Charles went into music therapy. Is that what your degree is, Charles? Yes, and beautiful. And we've been gifted with his music for several years now. We're appreciative of that. And Sherry and her husband have both taught for many years. He's a band director, actually. So if we will just align our focus with what we want, you know that our brains can change, right? There's a story about the London taxi drivers, and they have to learn so many destinations. Did you know that? 25,000 streets. It's the most complicated test in the world that those that are aspiring to be a London taxi driver must pass. And so someone had the idea a few years ago to test their neural responses. And it turns out, with all this new learning, they were creating new pathways in their brain. And that's the way it is with you and me. When we say yes instead of no, when we have faith instead of fear, and when we actually apply our faith, and we say, I have faith. I have faith beyond the appearances here, that whatever occurs is going to be for the highest good. I have faith in that. I always do. I even, as I said, I put that to work for me several times during my trip, but mostly there sitting in that gate. I can't tell you how it felt to have received that miracle. And to know that I was going on that trip that I wanted to go on, mask and all. It's okay. A little hard to sleep with that mask on. I can't sleep on an airplane anyway, can you? Anybody here able to sleep on an airplane? Can't. Well, of course, Tony can't. Matt, of course. You guys, Chuck, yeah. Tanya, you can too? Okay, well, I can't, even at home, I have to lay there for a while and think and, calm myself down. And so I'm not one of those that falls to sleep real easily anyway. Someone told me I had too much vata. Vata, is that what it is if you're in the Hindu? No, vodka. Vodka. Oh, okay, I haven't tried that. Well, see, there's the remedy. Okay. Well, I had a wonderful time. I had so much to come back and tell you, and I'm really I thank you for this time off, and I thank every person that came here on Sunday, those speakers that came and gave of their time and their talents, and the musicians and everyone. I appreciate that. And I enjoyed every Sunday that either I was home or on the road, and I rested. And one of the things we wanted to do was to get reset, and we knew we couldn't do that with my being here, because during the pandemic, so many things happened, and some moved away, some passed away, this happened, that happened, and so those few of us that were here, it turned out we had the whole world on our shoulders. We were being Atlas and preparing everything, and it just turns out you can't do your best if you're being responsible for everything. So we knew that, the board knew that to get reset, I needed to be away for a few weeks. And we needed to allow some others to step up and use their talents for the good. So I had just a little bit of more advice this morning before I finish, and that is put a little bit of oomph into your focus, okay? Your focus, your intention, whatever it is. So if you want to say, you find the best, God, I know that you're going to find the best source of income for me, whatever that is. If you have a prosperity need, and then trust it. But take a step and do something. Back it up with something real. Remember about that woman we've talked about, and God told her she better, if she wanted a boyfriend, she had to at least come out on the front step? That reminds me of so many of the things during COVID. You know, we've all been hidden. Okay, it's time to come out. Come out from hiding. If you got a healing need, say, I am healing now. I am healing now. Then follow it up with proper research. You may want natural healing, doctors, massage therapists, whatever. Follow up. That's up to you. And if you're struggling with fear of the virus and other things, maybe you could say, I'm immune to this virus. I am healthy and whole. Nothing can hold me back. Then take the proper precautions, immunizations, and whatever else you need to do, and come back out into the world. Time of hiding is over. It's time to come back out. We're either alive or we're not alive. And for me, that's the way it felt. I can't stay in the house and hide anymore. I got to come out. I'm sorry, I'm going to be safe. And have caution, but I can't hide anymore. Most importantly, surround yourself with that God presence that we speak of every Sunday. Demonstrate your faith in everything you say and do, and remember to continually realign your focus. Realign your focus. Rethink, recheck, just like I did when I made myself sit down in the terminal and said, okay, now wait a minute. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put those panicky thoughts aside. I'm not going there. I'm not going to fear. I'm going to have faith. Now I'm going to do what God wants me to do, and that's the way it's going to be. Amen. I hope you'll do that too. I hope you'll exercise your faith instead of your fear. And every time fear comes up, shoo it out the door. Time of fear is over. It's time to move forward. Now, thank you for holding this together while I was gone. I thank you so much for being here this morning, and I thank you for your time.